Clearly, the Habs are in a better place now than they were a year ago, and they're on their way back up. But Craig, the one big question for Montreal is, what stage of the rebuild are they actually in?
I'm going to use a refrain from a Beatles song, the long and winding road. That's where they're at. And, the mood has improved there. Marty St. Louis has really instilled a spirit of joy back in playing. But there is no joy in losing. And when you look at the Montreal Canadiens last year, yeah, they were a little bit more competitive. But where they rank in significant metrics, it's near or at the bottom of the league. So we know they have some really good young players, but good young players aren't enough. They need those players to mature. But most importantly, Mike, I think they need some players with some miles on them, with some players that can help some of those younger players not be put into situations where they might not be quite ready to handle. I think last year was a good example of what they lacked, not promise, but in terms of the ability to have success and develop in a proper way.
To get them to where they want to go, Craig, I think you're right. They do need to add some more talent with some more experience. But to do so, I still think one part of this rebuild is flushing out as many of the contracts that they don't want on their books off their books. And they're not quite there yet because they can't trade those guys, haven't traded those guys, or their contracts have yet to expire. So there's 2, 3, 4 contracts that probably still need to be getting off the books before you really want to start to integrate more money and more experience. But I think the key, and this is where Marty St. Louis comes in, for Montreal's growth in this rebuild, for them to take the next steps, is still player development and NHL player development. We talk a lot about all the great young defensemen they have, whether it's Gooley or Barron or Jacky or whatever it might be, Harris. These guys have to continue to take strides to not just become competent NHLers, Craig. They need 1 or 2 of these guys to become top 4, solid, excellent NHL defensemen. And the same goes up front. Slafkovsky's got to take some steps. They still need to get more talent, as you are referring to get better. So player development, Marty St. Louis, that's one of your big challenges this year.
And it's a significant challenge because along with player development and allowing players to handle situations better will also lead to team success and will grow the confidence of the players. There's nothing worse for players to give everything they have, and not so much that they know, but feeling at the end of the day, hey, listen, I'm not good enough, or we're not good enough. And the players always know, and you're not going to be able to take that and overshadow the feelings of the players. One area that I think that they found a real area of confidence is in the net, though, Mike. You just watched Samuel Montembeault at the World Championships perform admirably. I thought he was really good last year. Jake Allen is good. So that's a really good start. But the other areas of the team, and it doesn't have to be big-time offensive production. It's got to be contributions that ease the burden on these young players, that take the pressure off your team and the individuals to allow them to feel confident in their growth and their development.
You mentioned Sam Montembeault. I want to see what he can do this year. Last year, tied for 12th in goal save above expected with Jake Ottinger. That's the kind of year Montembeault had last year. Can he back up the World Championship gold with another better season this year? Maybe they are set in goal for the next few years, Craig. But I am curious, though, because to me, I think the timeline for Montreal is still probably 2 years away. So I don't know if I want to overpay to get these better players that will alleviate the burden. I'm thinking of Pierre-Luc Dubois, whoever might be out there. Don't overpay for them now, because I don't think they're just at the point where they absolutely have to have that guy depending on the cost. Get them if it makes sense, Craig, but don't overpay as though you're approaching the finish line, because to me, they're still a couple years away from the finish line.
Knowing exactly where you're at in the process is just as important as the developmental part, as the aspects that we just talked about. So for Kent Hughes, he has to recognize that part of it and knowing where they are in this development cycle and then move from there, because it is a few years away before they're going to be competitive. But making the right decisions today will put you in a better position tomorrow.